Good morning to Eastern Panhandle Talk. I'm your host today, host for a day, Michael Height. There's no Rob Mario. He's on vacation. We are produced by the sports doctor, Colin McLaughlin, and helping me in his ever-popular little chair, the Admiral, Bill Stubblefield. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Michael. Great to be here with you.
Excellent. So let's get right into it today. Our guests are the mayor of Martinsburg, Kevin Knowles, and his sidekick, Andy. Why don't you all introduce yourselves and let us know what's going on today in Martinsburg?
Well, it's nice to see you got a promotion.
Just for the day.
Just for the day.
Yeah. King for a day. It's like being mayor of Martinsburg for a day.
Well, hey, you know what? And we do that. We do that with some of the kids in the community. It's been a huge success.
Excellent. So let's start off by we had a meeting last night. Anything going on in Martinsburg? Any big happenings going on after last night's meeting?
Well, there's lots of things happening in Martinsburg. Just about last night's meeting, we did have the third and final reading of our ordinance for raising the rates on the water and the sewer. Again, this is not something that we take very lightly. This is something that was needed. We've been operating in a deficit in those areas for the last couple of years, and as rates go up and the infrastructure starts failing a little bit more, we need to be able to finance that to make sure that we give good quality water to the city.
Kevin, how does your rates compare to that of the city, of the county? Do you have any idea?
When you do a comparison of our rates around the jurisdiction, we are still, and this is all in the packet, Bill, I don't remember totally, but we are still in the middle of the pack with regard to this. As the mayor says, we don't take this lightly. Frankly, if you enjoy doing this, you're a masochist, because, no one likes raising rates, but the simple fact is the rates haven't been raised since 2020. Inflation over the last 5 years has been about 24.5%. Just like everybody else is feeling the squeeze, which we're very empathetic and sympathetic to, guess who else's bills go up? Chemical bills, electric bills, labor costs. Finding sewer and water operators, which is essential to operating the plants, which is required by the state, is difficult. And then, frankly, you have you're trying to hire professional, competent employees who literally job is to clean up other people's everything they put in the toilet. It's not a glamorous job, and we try to pay compensation in order to provide clean water, and just as importantly, make sure our effluent's clean when it goes back into the creek.
Did American Water make a pitch to acquire Martinsburg Water?
American Water knows very well that if they're going to walk in my office, they're going to turn around and send them back. So
have they made any overtures at all about?
There has been no offers. We're not interested at all.
Yeah, well, neither is Berkeley County, but American Water has a couple of occasions tried to approach the county commissioners, and much to their credit, they said no, because there's a real cost for doing business with American Water.
Yeah, and they, don't get me wrong, they've approached me. They've approached me at the office, and I've had meetings with them, but it's not something that we're looking at all. We're fortunate. We have a good supply of water within the city. We have 2 springs to be able to supply not only water for ourselves, but a lot of people in the county also.
One of our commenters on Facebook, Kevin, have asked you to take your hat off because they want to see those wonderful eyes of yours. Said you're in the shadow.
Is my wife online?
No, that's not your
wife. Andy, if you could, talk a little bit about what the rates actually did go up, and try to dispel some of the rumors that we've been hearing. We talked a little bit about that offline, but tell us exactly what did happen as respect to the water rates.
So the council decided it was decided there needed to be a 30% increase. The council decided to stagger that over the period of the next 3 years, 10, 10, and 10. So if you are a water and sewer customer of the city of Martinsburg, the average customer over the 3-year period, at the end of the 3-year period, is about $21. The council decided to do that in order to try to give people, a break so they're not hit all at one time. Like I said, the last increase was 2020. These enterprise funds are funds that have to operate on themselves. They cannot be supplemented by general tax revenues. they don't have an artificial, or they don't have an escalator to them. They're not tied to CPI or inflationary. So they're set in 2020. So the fee is set, and then your fixed costs over that time go up. So as much as we don't like increasing fees, it's unrealistic to assume that fees in 2035 or 2030 are going to be the same as they are in 2025. I mean, it's the same if, whether you go get a hamburger or a car. I mean, prices and inflation go up, and that's why inflation is so incredibly terrible to deal with, because you're always chasing your tail with inflation. And, for I'd say better or worse, but really worse, the last 5 years have probably been some of the highest inflationary period in recent history of the United States.
But as long as there's a rain tax in Berkeley County, increase of rates in Martinsburg is going to be deflected, because it's going to take the anger and the frustration toward the rain tax.
Do you think so, Bill? I mean, the city also has a stormwater fee, and this is all mandated through the federal government, and none of us at this table like that type of a fee. It's something that, unfortunately, that with their being mandated, we have to do it, and we don't have any other way to get around it. And the only other way is to have them from the federal government come down and wipe it all out. But until that happens, that's going to be there on both of our sides. But the water rates doesn't affect and correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, it does not affect doesn't change the minimum use of water. Is that correct?
Completely separate, completely different, two different utilities. Water and sewer is a combined fund. The combined budget, I believe, this year for water and sewer is about $11,250,000. Stormwater is a completely different utility, as the mayor says, mandated by the U.S. EPA, the West Virginia DEP, and an MPDS permit.
Yeah, and I would think that obviously, as a state elected official, there's not a whole lot we can do about it, or a city official can do about that MS4 permit and the stormwater management fee that's attached to that. That's strictly through the feds, and something I wish that our elected officials in Washington would do more about, and fight a little bit more, or fight a little harder about trying to get the EPA to relax it or get rid of it, because it certainly doesn't make sense to me anyway.
Yeah, the misnomer of all these fees is that we don't pay them, that
Sure.
elected officials don't have to pay it. We got to pay it just like everybody else. And we have budgets. I have a budget at my house, and it affects everything that I do. It affects everything my neighbors do. So we don't take any of this very lightly. We really look at it and try to. Actually, I think, Andy, that we were probably a year too late to start this, because we're operating in a deficit. And those utilities can't operate in a deficit, because if there's a deficit there, then we have to find money elsewhere to put it in there, and that's not there. There's
also a rumor going around that the minimum that you all charge for went from $2,000 to $4,000. We talked a little bit about that earlier. I don't know where the rumor started, but I heard it as well yesterday. Can you speak to that?
The minimum is the same. The rate increased the same proportion as the other rates, but there is a minimum, and that's all related to the water and sewer system has bonds for millions of dollars of sewer improvements, water plants, and the GAC system that was put in, which was largely reimbursed by the feds. And for those who don't know the GAC system, there's a ginormous filtration system down at the Big Springs plant that filters out PFAS to levels that now are you can't measure them. So all that costs money. You mentioned something about the feds and the state. The city is the last one down the hill.
Sure.
And when the mandates come down, they have to be passed on, unfortunately. We don't sell widgets. The only way that we can provide services through fees and taxes. And, just this week, another mandate from the West Virginia PSC. Not saying it's bad, and I'm not saying it's good. Thankfully, we have it. A mass notification system, which, by the way, if you go to our website, you can sign up for emails and texts, and we send alerts. And if there's water outages or sewer outages or anything, we send them to you. But just for example, this week, just got it in the email box yesterday. Every utility now in the state of West Virginia has to have a mass notification system. Well, that's not funded, Mike. That's another unfunded mandate. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but every time that there's another mandate from an agency, then it reflects on our budget and it has to be paid for somehow. Now, thankfully, a few years ago, we deemed that and the council deemed that as an essential thing that we need to do, and it was already done. So that's something that that's set in our budget. But my point of it is utilities today that don't have that, they're going to be required to do that.
Now, that mass notification, is that for anything that happens in the city, or is that just for utilities or issues like that?
Well, the one that we have that you sign up for, it's not just for water. It's just, if there's something happening, we'll put it out there, put out notifications, whether there's road closures or anything like that.
How about emergency warning? How about weather?
We don't have an automatic weather alert system, but the county does, and we always encourage people to sign up for it because we have a mutual aid agreement with the County Emergency Services Agency. They handle that function, and you can sign up for their alerts just like you can sign up for our alerts through our mutual aid agreement.
You look around and look at all the projects that we've been doing over the last few years where, we're fixing our streets, we're fixing our sewer. There's when we're digging up a road, we're not just digging up a road. We're going to fix the infrastructure while we have the road up, so that we're not going back. That infrastructure's been there, I want to say, close to 100 years, and we're trying to figure out how to map all that stuff out so that we can, whenever we do a project in that area, we can address it. We talk about water and sewer rates, and that's always a tight subject. But we've had some great news this past week or two that those grants that were on hold, those raised grants for the trail project is now moving forward. So we're a lot of good things happening in that area. So as we do that, there's going to probably be areas that we have to take a look at when we're doing that too.
I understand last week your fireworks was a great success.
Yes, it was. 22 and a half minutes of it. Since we've moved it, Bill, it's actually from my house, it's the first time I've ever seen a fireworks. And I live on the south side of town. I couldn't see anything on the west side of town when it was being set off at that time.
Now, is that the highest point in Martinsburg? You're over close to Green Hill Cemetery over in that area, but sits up on the hill, I guess, right where Burke and High Street area? No,
it's the end of John Street.
End of John Street, but on that side of the tracks, though?
Yes, on that side.
Okay.
No, it'd be on this side of the tracks.
That and this. What does that mean?
That and this.
So where you setting west? I guess
it's behind the wastewater plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up on the hill.
Where the shooting range is?
Yeah, where you're setting them off. So up on the hill, but okay.
It's at one of the higher points. I couldn't say for sure if it's the highest one in the city.
Okay.
Can you imagine someone saying, listen, this, that, what in the blazes are we talking about?
Did I say that?
Yeah, one of you said and the other one counted with the opposite one. So.
Well, that's because he and I are like brothers. We know what we're talking about. And that's
the Badger has a brother.
You know what? That's code so that we don't care if you guys are listening or not.
The Badger has lots of brothers. Blood and otherwise. All right, so we talked a little bit off air also about annexation. Is the city looking to annex anywhere? Currently, I know there's lots of donut holes, what I call donut holes in the city. Any movement on that? Well,
at this time there isn't, but there's always talk about minor boundary adjustments to take care of those things. I mean, there are donuts in the area, and some of them, different pockets that we'd like to take a look at, but it's very tough to do annexation, and I know that Andy and I have had those conversations, and he's been involved in stuff like that for 20 some years, and with his background he could speak more to that than I can.
And many of those areas, I would imagine, would not be profitable for the city at all. Definitely. You'd be annexing those and probably losing money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Off air also, Kevin, we're talking about the relationship between the county and the city. Long-term observers have noticed there is quite a cycle. Sometimes it's been very good, sometimes it's been very, very questionable. You're taking the position now, it's about as good as it ever has been. Would you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, well, I've been part of your administration. I've been part of the city government then, and it was on a good basis there. And I've been part of other times when they didn't get along for whatever reason. Me personally, always got along with both sides, and I always tried to be the guy that stay in the middle of anything. But it seems, well, and it doesn't seem, we've partnered up with the county on several initiatives to be able to better the community, not only just the city of Martinsburg, but the county as a whole. And any time now that we have projects, we work very closely together, a little more than typically in the past.
The city and county, from the staff perspective, I'm talking or texting or emailing the county administrator or the deputy about every week. The county and the city just underwent a ginormous joint project together, restructuring our employee health insurance in order to try to, again, healthcare costs will probably always increase, but to flatline and stabilize our health insurance costs, which is the second largest expense that we have in the city. That's not uncommon. GM spends more on health insurance than they do on steel and aluminum. It's common in America that corporations, their second largest expense behind salaries is health care. And working very closely with the staff of the county, we have both switched, and not to get into the details or the weeds, but we have made some monumental changes with regards to our health plan to keep excellent benefits for our employees at the same rates, in order to protect the taxpayer. And we did that together, working together, many meetings together. So, I hear, maybe I wasn't here as part of the, getting along and stuff, but they take my call anytime and I take their call anytime. And so far they haven't hung up on me.
Yeah, and kudos to Andy and Steve and the guys over at the county. If we didn't do that, there was going to be like a 25% increase, and that would have been passed on to our employees. And, if you give them a 3% raise and then add on 25% to their cost of their insurance, it really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so now pretty much a wash at that point.
Yeah, so now they were able to work out an insurance plan where we didn't have to raise, where it didn't have any cost to the employee itself.
Now, do you take advantage of PEIA, or do you have another insurance?
No, there's only one person within the city that gets PEIA. We have not had PEIA. County doesn't have PEIA. I know that with my relationship with the municipal league, there's a lot of municipalities and counties that do.
Sure. And you talked a little bit earlier about parks and trails and stuff. Talk to us. We're in the full-blown summer now. The pools are up and running. Any issues with any of that? How are the parks running right now?
The parks are running good. I'm laughing because we heard a rumor, but I'm not going to pass it on the air. So I just talked to Joe Burton yesterday, and the weather plays a big factor. So if it's a threat of rain, the pools of course have low attendance. But if you have great weather, the attendance is bigger than they've ever seen. So depending on the weather, if it's a good forecasted day, those pools are full, and it shows very good that there needs to be 2 pools within the city of Martinsburg.
Going back to the joint cooperation with the county, and I hear the same thing from both sides, Kevin. So I applaud you and the city and the county for this relationship. Now, the county, Berkeley County, has worked with adjacent counties trying to put up common issues as they lobby our delegates, our legislators. Does the city and the county do the same thing? Have you sat down and looked for common issues that you like to do, walk lock in step to lobby the Mike Heights and his colleagues? Well,
I think, I can speak for myself that we stay up with the issues that the county's going with, and the county have their own lobbyists. So we know what they're doing. If there was anything that we wanted to add on to, of course, yes, we would jump in. But there are some some needs that are different than what the county would need for a municipality.
Now, yeah, certainly there are, and I recognize that, but there's also some common issues, and there's a commonality that I was looking at.
Well, yeah, here, one we just talked about, stormwater. I mean, I think we work together to try to see what can be done, because we both get kicked down the road with it, sort of say that we get beat up all the time about it, and again, it's the people don't realize that those are mandated things to be done, and we're always working hard to try to see if there's any way that can be changed. So,
and I think Delegate Height will attest that we're not shy. If we have an issue that needs to be addressed, we pick up the phone and he and his colleagues answer the phone.
Yeah, the one thing I do have to say, Bill, is we have a great representation for the city of Martinsburg. I'm going to speak for the city of Martinsburg, that the delegates that represent the city of Martinsburg, whether they have 4 blocks within the city or whether they have a couple miles within the city, every one of them has been very good at coming. We actually had our first meetings with them prior to them going to the legislature. So now we plan on doing that every year, to sit down with them and they get to know us a little bit more and we get to know them a little bit.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of people that are upset when the city of Martinsburg was split up between delegates and districts. I personally think it's worked out well. You have 4 or 5 delegates to reach out to now to try to get things for the city, and I think that may work a whole lot better for the city, especially if we're all on the same page, that you got 4 or 5 voices speaking on behalf of the city instead of just one.
Key word. All on the same page, yeah.
And that's why...
That's true.
And that's why I made
the point.
Even
sometimes I'm sorry, Bill, sometimes everybody's not necessarily the city not on the same page with 5 delegates, but sometimes delegates aren't on the same page with one another.
Sure, absolutely.
But the good thing about it is that we're able to have those conversations. And there's no animosity amongst people to be able to sit down and have that conversation. And sometimes when we have those conversations, Mike, I believe you can attest that sometimes it changes our thoughts and changes our mind, now that we have a little bit more information.
Sure. Bill?
No, I was going to just pick back up on being on the same page was the root of my question a while ago. Looking for commonalities of where you have a common need. The two, the city and the county, go to the delegates in lockstep. The counties have been, at least the counties in the Eastern Panhandle, have been doing this the last 20, 25 years, and I think to great success. So.
Yeah, and there are issues that we work on together. I mean, let's just say the opioid epidemic.
Yeah.
When we've partnered up with the county to open up a sobering center as an investment on their part, an investment on our part. We should be seeing that open up here in the fall. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we've talked about that aren't to any type of fruition right now, but we're always having conversations with the county to make sure that if there's anything the city can do to help them, vice versa, the county can help.
Well, gentlemen, we're at the bottom of the hour. Kevin, the last 30 seconds is yours.
Tell them, raise grant. Tell them.
We're just excited to kick off meeting for our Raise Grant and Safe Streets for All grants next week. That's going to start making progress. And the city's in the middle of transition. In the next few days, we have a new finance director and we'll have a new fire chief named, and stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Thanks for being on, and we'll be back shortly with Friday 5.